Book 4, The Sunfallen Road. Chapter 27. I stepped through the gates of Ezion-Geber, unsure of what to expect, but ready for anything. I had taken the long way around to Old Judea. This I knew. I realized at that moment that it was not because I had lost my way. It was because I had been avoiding this moment, but now I did not know why. Beyond the gates, I saw a surprisingly beautiful city. Ancient but strong stones, beautifully carved, comprised tall and beautiful buildings. The streets were cobbled stones. I saw a lost city, touching in its lostness, its vastness, its ancientness. I turned down one of the streets, walking towards some sounds I heard. I heard laughter. I blinked. It was the laughter of a child. I hurried up the street, looking for the child that had made that sound. I turned a corner, and I saw a little girl with a head full of curls, olive skin, and clear green eyes. The child was me. She looked at me and laughed again. She ran down another path, and I followed her. She darted into a house and shut the door. I looked at the house. The door was black. I shook myself. This was no time for fear. I entered the house. At first, all was dark. I could see nothing, but I could hear a woman weeping. Slowly, the darkness lifted, and I saw my mother, seated by the stove in our kitchen, weeping as she stitched a handkerchief. I moved closer to her. "Mother," I called, for it seemed to me she was miles away. She did not look up or give any sign that she had heard me. She went on weeping and stitching. I ran towards her, and when I finally drew close, I saw with horror that she had continually pricked her fingers. The piece of linen she was stitching was speckled with her blood. I heard a noise behind me, and I turned around. I heard the sound of breaking glass. Then I saw a window in which a woman stood, gazing down into some abyss I could not see. She leaned forward, her hands barely holding her weight above the drop. I shouted and reached for her, and I raced forward to stop her, but I was too late. She fell, and when I finally reached the window, her mutilated form lay far below me, the stones of the sidewalk spattered with blood. I jumped and landed beside the corpse. I knelt and looked at her, and I recognized her face. She was the mother of the first person I ever killed. I looked up the street, furtively, like a thief with stolen jewels. I saw streetlights and shadows, stretching up a street that I now recognize as one of the streets of Berlin. I got to my feet. The shadows seemed to seethe, as though they were considering pouncing on me. I turned in the other direction, and I saw a light down the street. I began to run, moving towards it just as the shadows began to take form and give slow but steady chase. I reached the light, and I dashed through the doorway it hung over just as the shadows were about to close on me. I slammed the door and looked about me. Paris, the late 1800s. In Paris, I had taken more blood than in any period before or after I had lived as a vampire. I saw, up the street, a darkly dressed man with a sad expression and lines upon his face, the husband of a woman I had accidentally slain. All along the street, I saw the faces of the families and loved ones of the ones I had killed, and my heart broke for them. "I am sorry," I pleaded, blood tears streaking my face. "I am so sorry." They looked at me, almost blankly, but their sadness gave definition to their features and new meaning to the concept of sorrow. I couldn't take another step. I sank to the stones of the street beneath me, and I hung my head. "Forgive me," I whispered, blood tears falling to the pavement. "Melpomene," came a voice. I looked up. The child me was before me. She came to me and gravely kissed my forehead, my cheeks, my eyelids. "Don't be sad." "Why?" I asked. "Come on, she said, and reached out to take my hand. I slipped mine into hers, and after I had risen to my feet, she led me down the street to a temple grander than any I had ever seen, but simplistically graceful, lit from within by lights whose nature I could only begin to guess. I entered the temple hand in hand with myself. The nature of this paradox was probably best left alone in terms of contemplation. After all, I wasn't in the physical realm any longer. In the rear of the temple, I saw a man dressed in a pure white robe. A crown of white gold sat upon his head, and he sat upon a cushion on a dais, his eyes closed in meditation. "Solomon," I said quietly, recognizing him at once. The eyes opened, and I saw that they were palest gray, pale like the ethereal plain, pale like clouds, like heaven. "Welcome, Melpomene, child of the Shire the Fallen," said the Holy King, rising to his feet. "Come, we have much to discuss." The child me laughed and scampered through the temple, disappearing into its brightly lit depths. Solomon extended his hand to me, and arm in arm, we walked through the temple. "Is this your home?" I asked him. "Yes," he replied, smiling at me, and his smile was the kindest I'd ever seen. "After an age of living among men, I ask thee all, whom your beloved would call God, to take me back into his realm. For even though those who achieve Ezion-Geber can live as humans do, we still live long lives, centuries, even millennia. So I came back here to guide those who made it to the end of the Sunfallen Road through the rest of their journey into the lost city." I nodded. "There are many things I don't know, aren't there?" "There are," he said. At that moment, I realized that I was also clad in a white robe, though I didn't know how I had come to be wearing it. Nevertheless, this was the ethereal realm, and it didn't surprise me all that much. A fact in and of itself that surprised me. "Ezion was a demon, intent on wreaking havoc on Earth," said Solomon. "This is true. What he did not know is that the will of the gods directed him to create vampire kind. Why? For the same reason that nature saw fit to generate the Black Death," replied Solomon. "Do you understand now?" I thought for a moment. "I think maybe I do," I said, "but explain it to me anyway." "Of course," he said with another smile. "In essence, every major plague has one purpose: to purge mankind of decadence. When the Black Death struck, millions died. What happened then, socially and politically, eventually ended the feudal system. And major epidemics were and are meant for the same thing?" "Yes. So what about vampires?" "This is a long explanation, so bear with me, Melpomene." Somehow it gave me joy to hear him speak my name. He took a breath before he began. "Vampires cannot procreate very often, as you might know. It takes incredible strength, and after we make another vampire, it could take several years to recover from the act, although a human mother may only take months to recover after giving birth, and then she can become pregnant again. So while vampires do consume resources similarly to humans, but the population of vampires is still dramatically smaller than that of humans, and most vampires choose never to procreate, for either the reason that they don't want to sacrifice their physical strength, or because they are, for one reason or another, morally against creating more vampires. Vampires prey upon humans just as sharks prey upon fish or hunters on deer. Vampires were created as the only real known predator to humans and to teach them about their fears. And Ezion, whether he realized it or not, was actually obeying a signal by the divine powers to create just such a predator." He paused. "Do you understand so far?" I nodded. "Although the time isn't yet upon us, a time is coming among vampires that some vampiric prophets call the Great Thirst. This will be a time among vampires where their thirst is nigh uncontrollable, and they will slay many humans, directly and indirectly. This, ecologically speaking, will be a type of smaller-scale extinction event." "So vampires serve a purpose?" "Yes, but their nature is supernatural. Their blood, in a way, is the blood of the demons, one of the corrupted angels of ages past. Because their blood is damned, so too were we. The sun's rays punished us. We were bound to take the blood of the living to feed our undeath, and aside from what is now known as the trials, there was no way to escape the curse. So yes, we performed a function, a necessary one, but we were cursed for all that, save repentance, and undertaking the trials to remove the taint from our blood. It seems a strange way of managing an extremely vague problem, I remarked. To make a being that is like a living disease wearing human flesh? The ways of the gods are strange, replied Solomon. What can we do but obey their commands? I shrugged. Nothing, really. Who is the All? The All is the sum of all gods, including the God of the Hebrews. There are many gods, each with a specific purpose. All gods are part of the One Most High, but are also outside of it. They are independent entities, and yet they are all one. Most don't know its nature and do not understand it. He looked at me with a keen gaze. Why did you come, Melpomene? I paused before I answered. I wanted my answer to be simple, but meaningful. I came, at first, because I wanted to be human, like the one I love the most, I said. But in time, I came to see that I truly desired my humanity, regardless of my love for him. Do you want to be forgiven? More than anything. My sins have been many. I have tried to atone for my misdeeds, but if I knew I could be forgiven for them, without any doubt, I think I could be free. He smiled. That is a good answer. He led me further into the temple, and we reached a door. This is your final test, Melpomene. Inside, if you pass it, you will find yourself back in the valley, and you will be able to face the sun once again. You will no longer thirst as you once did. You will be forgiven, and you will go on to make your way in the world like a human. I nodded, listening. But one thing I must warn you of, he went on quietly. Because you have been a vampire, you will retain some of their traits. You will live long, longer than a human would. Some of your gifts will linger. You will not need to drink blood to survive, but blood will still tempt you if you see it, and you will still be able to take it. If you pass through Ezion-Geber alive, and you thereafter take blood, you will be damned once more, and no power in the world can again redeem you. You have one chance. Use it wisely. I nodded again. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. The Holy King kissed my forehead gravely. Go in peace, Melpomene, and may the gods be with you. He turned away, and I turned towards the door, painted white and engraved with many symbols that I could not recognize, and turned the handle.